So when should my child start to use a phone? When am I meant to give my child a phone to start to use? Not to even talk of having like an internet access on the phone. This is literally like a very hot topic that, parents are a bit confused about, especially in this digital age. If sounds like, something you are interested in, I would say you need to stick till the end of this video. Welcome back to our channel, Grow with the G Days. I'm Tammy. Hey, precious mama, how are you? I know, how has the last few days been? And I know, to be honest, yes, I know, having to deal with children can be so much work. But anyway, that's not what we're planning to talk about today. Is another part of having to deal with this digital age challenges. When we're growing up, phone is landline we were battling with. It's landline that our parents were locking up and down the whole place. But now with the mobile phones, like, how can you lock it? Yes, there are different ways that we can go about, around it, which we'll be talking about. So it's basically like a conversation. So we'll be having a conversation today, and please feel free to put in the comments. Do your children have phones? When did you start to give your children phones? What age do you consider to be a good time to give your children a phone to start to use? I know in some countries, you might be thinking, okay, we can as well do without phones for now. But I think that line, COVID times told us that it's not possible. Many of us would say, oh, my child will wait till 18 to have a phone, blah, blah, blah. When COVID came and they had to start to use, do their assignments, do stuff, everybody was stuck in the house. I think things started to change, but I would share what, my opinion anyway. Aside obviously being a child psychologist, let's put that aside. As a mommy to mommy, let us talk about this thing. I would share my opinion, what has worked for me. I have two teenage children, what has worked for me when they were growing up, till we got to this point, other ways that, what I would always, from a place of what you have to start to look at, especially in this age. You cannot stop children from from having these gadgets, but at what age is what we want to discuss today. So please feel free to share your thoughts, your own thoughts. Just put it in the comments. I would love to read from you, and we can all learn from different perspectives as well. So I know. So anyway, what, when moms reach out to me and they're like, what time, or when we're just chatting, maybe we're just chatting with other mommies, like, what age do you think children should start to have a phone? So there are three things I usually share. There are three things you need to consider before you start. Say, okay, this is the right time, this for me. And to be honest, there's no right time. There is no right time. Every family is different. Your realities, our realities are different. Situations are different. Children are different. Environment is better, different. So we cannot say this is the right age for it. But there are three things I'm going to share with you today that will give you an insight to say, okay, I think my child is ready for it. Or I think I'm ready for it, because I think every child is ready for a phone. Every child wants a phone, but we, the parents, we are not ready yet. So, number one thing, one question I would want to, always put out is, when you're saying, is it right to buy, a phone, to give my child a phone now? The first question you need to ask yourself is, why am I giving my child a phone? So the why will guide you to, okay, this is why. Is it a good enough reason for now? So I will break it down for you. So why am I giving a child a phone? So let me give an example. Maybe a child less than 10 years old, let's say, given whatever country that you are, but basically across the world. Your child is 10-year-old. Most likely, many children less than 10 years are, being taken to school. So if your response to that is, oh, I just want my child to have a phone. My child has been asking me for a phone. Their friends have a phone. All their classmates have a phone. That is not a good enough reason to give a child a phone, whether be for birthday present or whatever it is. That is not a good enough reason just because. Because another video we're going to discuss the cons of, we all know the good, there's a good side to, having a phone. But for children, the cons like outweighs, because we're talking of phones now. We're not talking of like iPads or whatever. That is another story for another day. If it's something you're interested in, let me know. That's another story for another day. But we're saying phone, right? Phone, oh, mobile phone, smartphone, smart. So the question is, okay, if I'm giving this child a phone just because the friends, that is not a good enough reason. You need to talk to your child that in as much as your friends are having this, for our own, for our own values for now, we do not think you need a phone for these several reasons, right? Then the second reason is, oh, I need to communicate. I'm a busy parent. Maybe you have like nannies that are with your children, or they're with grandmas, grandparents or siblings or anybody, but you're not usually around your children. You're usually at work, but you want to like communicate, to call them, or so that they can call you to let them, for you to know, okay, I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. So that is a child, let's say, we're now saying, okay, for children less than 10, for example. So for communication, for communicating reasons, right? So the question is, okay, for my child to be able to communicate with me, do I need to give that child the mobile phone or the smartphone or the phone? Because I need to get across to my child. So the question is, okay, what are the alternatives to this? Or do I buy a phone and put in the house, for an adult to supervise? So maybe you put it in like maybe the sitting room or the dining room, somewhere accessible to the child, that when you need to reach me urgently, this is where you go to pick the phone and call me. So it's not the child's phone. It's the phone that mommy or daddy has put in place for communication within the house, right? So that answers that question. If your why is, oh, my child now, so for older children that they need to go to school on their own, and you ask, my child goes to school on their own, I need, for their safety, so that if there's anything wrong, they need to communicate with me. That is a good enough reason to start to think that for security, safety, it's very important to give your child a phone. So we'll talk about the next things that you now need to put in place to ensure the safety of your child in the digital era as well. So if that is your reason, then it's a good enough reason, because safety above everything, right? So then you might not be thinking, okay, if it's for safety, do I need to put internet on it? Do I need to put, that is what, so you need to think about your why and what you need to do in, to ensure that your child is also doing the right things online. I work with many parents, and we know the downsides of, the exposure that our children are getting into, even having the smartphones. Even if you do not put internet on it, when they get to school, their children that their parents, I do not want to say their parents don't literally like care whatever you do on the phone. We've given you the phone, we've bought you the phone, is a good thing to have, for whatever is it. So your children, even if you don't put internet, their friends will share data with them. So know that when you're giving that phone, you're already handing some level of power to your child as well. Then some people, their reason is, oh, my child needs to do their homework and whatever, study, then the question is, why would it be their phone that they would have to do their assignments on? Because they can do their assignments on the laptop. Obviously, I usually suggest as a psychologist that you use a laptop where it's accessible to anyone in the house, so that everybody can keep each other accountable, literally. Because if you give, even at adults, if you are doing serious work on your phone, you are not, I don't want to say you are not necessarily serious, because the distraction is plenty. So imagine children that are even jobless. You have job, oh, you have job, you are busy, but you're on your phone, you're trying to send an email, something, one notification came in, you're like, oh, let me quickly check this. Not to talk of children that they're jobless, they don't have anything to do, they're easily distracted when it comes to their mobile phone. So I would not even recommend that for assignments to study. They use their mobile phones to do that, because many times they're distracted and it's not a good enough way of having to study. So the best is to provide like a laptop for them to use. At least everybody sees what each person is doing. We've seen mobile phones done a lot of things, you know, notification, things just coming in, and we're missing it from that place. So I actually dealt well with that first point, because it gives you an insight as to if your child is ready, or if you're also ready to give your child a phone. But to be honest, if you're like, please, oh, I have the money, what is phone? Let them use the phone. It's the digital age. Where would they not start to use phone? If that is what works for you, please do give the phone. No. Which would now lead me to the second point. So for whatever reason that you've given your child the phone, then you want to also ensure and ask yourself, have you educated your child enough around, you know, being responsible with the phone, you know, what boundaries? So what I usually say is that before you give the phone, it's easier when you've communicated boundaries to children. It's not when you've given them the phone and they're now on it for hours. And yeah, just your phone all the time. This child, you're getting addicted to the phone, and you now be complaining. You'll be angry, and you'll now be seizing phone, when there is no agreement between both of you, right? You've not communicated, oh, as I'm giving you this phone, you can only use your phone between this time and this time, maybe when you go to school and when you come back from school, or even maybe by 7 p.m., by 3 p.m., whatever time. Or this phone you're not going to use it weekends, or this phone you can't use it on the dining table when you're eating food, when you're doing your assignments, when you're studying, you can't use your phone. Ensure that you communicate those clear boundaries and guidelines when you are giving a child a phone. And if you've already given them the phone and you've not given them those guidelines, agreed between those guidelines. I know that we're not talking of giving 3-year-old phone now. So when we're saying agreed, so I'm thinking obviously having a phone from at least 5 years old, because I know some people that give their, you know, very young children phones as well. So ensure you have those clear boundaries there, because that is what children thrive in. When they don't have clear boundaries, even with the clear boundaries, they will still want to overtake you. They will want to jump over those boundaries. So ensure that you have that agreement, so they're not upset. So when you're taking the phone to say, oh, I said you should always put the phone here at the end of the day, and they don't put it there, these are the consequences if you do not put the phone here. They kind of cooperate more. They're not upset, they're not throwing tantrums, because it's an agreement that they already know that when they don't follow those boundaries or those clear guidelines, then there are consequences that comes with it. But ensure that you put boundaries in place when you're giving your children, you know, handling them the phones. And this applies to their gadgets, TV, and all that as well, the screen time, basically. And educating them. What are they meant to do on the phone? Do they know how to spot, some messages? So when they see, like, they go online, for example, and they see, let's say, nude people, pornography, everything, right? Have you communicated, have you educated them around those areas, what they should, when they see anything odd, have they let them know? Have you told them that, you need to let me know? Don't be ashamed of it. Mom is not going to be upset. That is not going to take it personal, but let me know because we can help you on time. So ensure that you educate your children around, safety with phones when they're going. You see some children when they're going to school, they are like, pa, 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 pa. They can grab the phones, and you see they steal a lot, take phones a lot from these children. Have you taught them that when you're leaving school, just keep it in your bag, in your pocket? When you get to a safe place that you can call me, then you can call me. So ensure that you educate your children around the use of phones as well before you start to hand over, this powerful tool. I tell people, smartphone, the day you give your child a smartphone, just know that you've handed them the world, like literally the world. So ensure you do the right education before you hand over that thing to them. And finally, this is also very key because this is the one that now keeps your child safe online. For children, you have to put monitoring, tools, basically on their phones as well. And when I say monitoring, parental controls and everything, because children are children, even if you say, oh, you can't use more than 2 hours, even you yourself, you're still struggling with screen time as a parent. You are on the phone like this, you cannot do any other thing. Not to now talk of children that, they need your support in this journey of life. So ensure, so why are you putting monitoring tools and, parental control? So that there's so many of them online now. You can Google them. And there's even one I can maybe also maybe put it in the description as well, a video on how you can also like put parental controls on your phone. So what are the controls for? Maybe the time that you would want them to stay accountable to their, to using their phone. Maybe you want it on for, let's say, 3 hours, 2 hours. You set your control. So there's no noise. There's no need to make noise. At that time, the phone will just lock. Right? Because to be honest, if you do not help your children, it's your responsibility. Yes, it's the digital age, but it's your responsibility to teach your children time management, how to stay safe online, how to navigate this digital age. If you do not teach them, they will also start to struggle with, time, boundaries with time, taking control of their time. So it's your responsibility to start to teach them and win them. It's your responsibility to win them into the digital world. So that is what you need to also ensure that you've done. Monitoring tools to ensure that, they're being accountable to the sites that you've allowed them to watch. If you want them to go on some social media websites as well, is it the right age for them to join those, those sites, all those things? That's what the parental controls and monitoring tools would help you do. And it's possible. I would link one of the videos I've done that can help you, teach you that. And you can also go online to search on which one to use. There's several different types that you can use. There's one that when you just click it from your own phone, it will just lock the child's phone. Blam, the child cannot do anything. And there's some that you can even be watching everything they're watching, everything they're doing. You can actually see it as well. So there are different ones based on, your child best. Everyone knows their child, to what limit your child can push through, but it's your responsibility to ensure that your child stays safe online and they're not, doing the wrong things, and they're not also being bullied or there's a lot going on, which is not, I don't want this video too long. We can talk about it in another video as well, but surely I'm going to do a video on the cons, why you need to take, it seriously as well when you giving phones to your children, what your responsibility, is to your children if you are aware of the cons that exist out there as well. So I hope that you found this, valuable. So let me know, what have you been doing? If you've given your children the phone, what you've been doing to keep them accountable, you know, with their phones as well. Which one would you be taking away today? And what age do you want to give your children? At least you've listened now. What age do you think you would want to give your child or children, you know, their first phones? Or if you've given them, why did you give them? Let's know in the comments. If you've not subscribed to our channel, if you found this valuable, please subscribe, share, comment, and if you have like any topics in mind that you would want me to talk about in regards to parenting in the digital age, do let me know as well. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and do have a lovely day. Bye.